I decided I would come back and preface this audio recording, this bonus episode, with saying to whoever's listening that this audio is not directed towards anyone. I repeat, it is not directed towards anyone in particular. I just felt that I needed to make this audio because there is a mess of information online, and a lot of people in their search to know, to be in the know, are really digging in, and they're digging in deep, and they're taking a lot of the things that they're listening to as gospel. And so I felt compelled to just tell people to be careful. And that's it. Not directed towards anyone, not trying to shame anyone or make anyone feel any kind of way. For those who want to at least listen and try to receive what I am offering, this is just me offering, making an offering. That's it. So with that being said, please enjoy the episode, and if you know someone who could use this information, sharing is caring. So like I said, sharing is caring, so I'm just sharing. So I had a whole 7 minutes of a rant that I was on, and it was scattered. I felt it was all over the place. So I said, you know what, let me come back, and instead of making myself have to do a lot of editing, or instead of flying off topic, let me just come back and start again and just get straight to the point. My point that I want to make today, in brief, in brevity, is I don't know what's happening with us. And this happened before COVID. I know we like to blame a lot on COVID, and rightfully so, for a lot of things. But this is prior to COVID. People were losing faith. The three monolithic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, have always believed in God. They may have different other beliefs and paths, but that was always across the board. It's the other things that were details that we differed on. But those three paths, we believe, always led us to God. What I am seeing now, because social media is so massive, there's information flying like crazy kites with the wind blowing hysterically, and people are chasing these kites. And in the chase, more and more every day, I am seeing people lose their faith. They're starting with, that's interesting. And then it goes to, yeah, I always questioned that. Or, wow, I didn't know that. Or that's deep. Or that's different. And then before you know it, they're reading and they're watching these videos, and before you know it, they're deep in a rabbit hole, and their belief system begins to change, and they no longer have faith. And so what I want to beg everyone, I'm not saying that we all have to pick the same path. It is what it is. I think all the religions talk about how people are going to pick different paths. So I'm not trying to say anything against what God has already told us. And I'm not trying to come here and get on a soapbox and preach. What I do want to do is say to you, when you're going and you're doing your research, do not shake God loose. Do not say, I'm begging. Do not say, I do not believe in him anymore because I found this thing. Anything that you found is going to come from man, and man is flawed. Because when man gets a thought or he gets a belief, before he used to just give it the story verbally, and it would travel from, person to person. And we already know that story about the telephone, right? Remember, we sit in a circle and someone would tell something to someone in their ear, and by the time it came back to the person, it was not the way it was said. So we know man is flawed. So let's remember that when we are quick to take something that we saw on the internet or that we read in a book, especially if the book was written in recent decades. Where did they do their research? Where did they get their information from? And then when they go back far, here's the thing. A lot of people say, well, the information was taken from about 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. This is what they say. But that's how many years that it had to go through how many people before it was written, because they remember traditionally they didn't write things down. So what was the story before it was written? And then who tampered with it? And what happened to it when it was translated? And some languages cannot even be translated now, but you have people running around saying that they went to a school and learned how to translate. And then they tell you, okay, so this is the way, this is the thing. And then you go following it and believing it, only to turn around and find out that person didn't get a degree and do this massive studying, that they maybe got a certificate or just took some workshopping classes or just studied on their own. And you know how we do. We pick and choose what we want to study, right? The things that we believe in, and then we follow that path. And like I said, it's so easy to fall down a rabbit hole. I'm trying not to fall down one now because I don't want to start talking about religion. I just want to ask everyone to be careful, beware, because the devil is real and he whispers to all of us. That's why God put a guardian angel there on us, because the devil is on the other side and whispering, him and his little followers. So we have to be careful because he doesn't always come to us directly. Sometimes he comes through other people. So you have to be really careful. Some people have said to me, I'm dedicated to a fault. I may be, but I'm dedicated to the end when it comes to my Lord, when it comes to the creator of heaven and earth. I will not put a man before him. I will not try to twist and turn his words. I don't care what year they voted on this and started saying that and inducted this. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon. I want to go from what was being said and done in the beginning. And then a lot of things that's going on the internet, they're taking a lot of things that was, stories, parts, because we don't have the whole truth. They're taking parts of different things that was said and they're trying to connect the puzzle with so many missing pieces. And then they say, oh, well, the truth is under the Vatican and the truth is over in London. The king and the queen, they have so much stuff over there. Okay, well, then if they have that, unless somebody goes and pull those things out and puts these pieces together, we don't have the full story. So you're running around basically on E. You know how the car runs on E? You're running on E. And you're putting pieces together and you'll never get the answer if the answers are always missing. And so now you have to guess, or you have to build the whole faith or religion or parts of it on what? Misinformation, misguided information, lack of information. So I'm saying this just to say, be careful. You would not be here today if you were not blessed. You would not be blessed if you did not at some point pray. So I would say to you, pray and ask God to please give you the answers that you need. And then when things start to come to you based on that prayer, consider those things. That's what I would do. But please do your research. Again, I don't want to get on the soapbox. I just want to say to you, please do your research, because the internet is something else and everybody is using it for different reasons. Not everyone is using it for something positive and to help. And you got some people throwing information and misinformation out there, not to lead you astray, that they don't have. Some do have bad intentions, and we know that. But some people are just trying to find things themselves. So they're sharing what they find, and the emphasis that they put on it and the love and the passion makes it sound like they're preaching it like it's gospel. And they may even believe it at the moment, but then find something else, and now their opinion changed. And so then they teach you, and you're like, I've done it before. I've done it. I wanted to learn certain things, which I won't mention because, again, I don't want to get into religion. And I followed and I listened, and I didn't always agree with things, but I said, I'm going to keep an open mind because I've done things with a closed mind before, and I didn't learn, and I missed out on a lot. And so I don't want to do that. And so I won't say blind follow because I'm not an idiot, but I just kept my mind open. And then finally I had to say to myself, okay, I've done over 10 years of listening and learning, and now it's time for me to plant my feet. I can't, walk around on a bunch of lessons. I have to now, because I felt like it was affecting not my faith and not my belief, but my behavior. And so I had to nestle down and say, okay, I believe in this, and Those things do make sense, but I don't necessarily believe they're etched in stone. But common sense, right is right and wrong is wrong. There's good, there's evil. So, not necessarily that they are wrong, not necessarily that they are a sin, but I do see where they're not going to lead me to the place I need to go, because I need my good to outweigh my bad, because on the day of judgment I don't want any problems. I don't want to be crying and screaming because I'm on my way to the hellfire because I was living foul, you know. So I'm being mindful of that. And as my son always says, can any of those things help you to move forward in God's eye? To can those things make your good outweigh your bad? Are they going to be helpful for you, for your spirit in the end, in the hereafter? Like, you have to think about those things. And so sometimes we want to know history for history's sake. But if you're not learning history when it comes to your Lord, you know, who the prophets were and what they did and how they did it, if you're not learning those things to better yourself, because they were messengers and they were bringing you warnings. If you're not learning about those things for that, if you're just trying to crack open some hidden mystery code thing just for the sake of having something to do, if it's really not for you, for your soul in the hereafter, I don't know. I think maybe you need to kind of check what you're doing and why you're doing it. Everything that I do, I try to make everything that I do be pleasing to my Lord. Now listen, if you're atheist, this is not for you. Like some of the bloggers and vloggers say, you might want to skip past this episode. And I probably should have said that in the beginning, but I'm saying it now. But if you are a person who believes and you're just trying to figure out how this all comes together, you don't have to let your Lord go to figure out certain things. Just make sure that you get, in touch what you're trying to figure out and why. Because that, if you don't, you can go in that rabbit hole. And I did this audio 3 times because I was starting to go down a rabbit hole that I didn't want to go in. I just wanted to say be careful, because people are getting their information from the internet. They are buying these books, and then the people who are buying the books are making videos and audios and going to the internet, and they're leading people astray, especially young minds. And especially because a lot of us, we don't want to do what we're told to do or what we're supposed to do. We want to do what we want to do. And so we will adapt and adopt anything that will help us do what we want to do, right? If we could own our own business and pay people to run it for us, we wouldn't want to go to work. We want to do what we want to do, but sometimes you do what you have to do. And some people are losing that. So anyway, I don't want to see, it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole. I don't want to do that. All I want to say to you is, if you want to research, if you want to find out what's what, that's fine. But make sure you do a thorough research. Notebooks, everything. And make sure you're talking to the right people. Make sure you're looking up the right things. But make sure you also go into it knowing that you're only going to be as knowledgeable as a slice of Swiss cheese. It's going to be Swiss cheese holes because there's so much history missing. You just won't find it. Some was destroyed. Some is tucked away somewhere that we'll never get to. Some was denied that they even have. So you're just out there. So fine, do your research. Try to find out whatever it is that you're looking for. I pray that you find what you're looking for. But just be really mindful, because anything that you find is going to come from man, and we don't know how thorough the search was. We don't know the mental capacity of that person, if they were mentally ill, or I don't know. It's just so many variables, but just be really careful. I just hate to see people leave their belief in the Lord because they're looking for answers, and a lot of times they're looking for historical answers, like what the truth. Did he live here? Did he live there? Was he black? Or was he white? Did they really come from the caves? Did we really come from grass that's green with that was almost like paradise? And who messed it up? And it's a rabbit hole, and it's not good. And I haven't seen it do anyone good yet. What I just see is just people getting more and more bananas over the research, almost addictive, and the output, I'm not really seeing it being rich. I'm just seeing them kind of gather information and then go around and repeat it as if it's law or as if this is the deal. And I've done that before, and I think that's what scares me. I've taken information that I found out that made sense to me at the time, and I ran with it like, oh, this is the deal, only to come and find out, no, there's a whole bunch of other deals, and that was someone's opinion, and you followed it, and now you realize that sometimes there can be a lot of opinions, and not necessarily that they're wrong, but they're not, what they're saying, or warning you to not do is not necessarily a sin, even though that's the way they delivered it. You see what I mean? Like, it can just get really crazy when you start doing research and trying to see what is, especially when you have to get the information from man, because you have to take into consideration personalities, right? And personalities are usually based on the person's experience, how they were raised, their environment, a lot of different factors, right? And then all of this goes into how they perceive the information that they received or that they read or that they comprehend, and then how they deliver it to you, and then how you receive it, and then how you digest it, and how you spit it back out to other people. So just be really careful. That's all I'm saying. Please. The internet is just so vast and so massive, and the information is just flying like, and it's all over the place. Just don't go nuts, right? Like I said, do your research. You may even have to sit it to the side because you're just scrambling over the same information, because for a while there's no new information until someone decides, or who has done more information, unless someone who has done more research decides to come out with something. And otherwise, again, be careful. That's all I'm saying. Be careful. This is Andrea, and I'm just saying.